Okay, so when you're ready, settling yourself down onto your back. Feel free to have a small pillow or something under the head if you wish, just to help keep the line of the neck and the throat free. And if you want to bend the legs, you can, with the feet flat on the floor. You may even want the feet a little wider than hip width so the knees can fall towards each other a touch. You've got that kind of ease in the pelvis and the broadness of the back, or the back of the waist. And then if you have your upper arm just a little away from the sides of the ribs, and perhaps rest the hands on the lower abdomen, or the arms alongside you on the floor. If you're resting the hands on the body, maybe just the lightest of fingertip touches, just resting on the bottom of the rib cage, the top of the abdomen, somewhere around there. And take a moment to wriggle and adjust. Make sure you're warm enough. And we'll be here approximately 10 minutes. So get comfortable now. So the physical weight of the body is making contact with the substance of the floor, which means where you're in contact with the ground, there's sensation. So if we work progressively down the body, we might be able to experience that. Can you feel the kind of curve of your skull, the back of the head, touching whatever it's lying on, the floor, the cushion, the book, whatever? And then the back of the neck is quite possibly off the floor, but some part of the upper back, maybe the ridge across the shoulder line, maybe the top ridge of the shoulder blades. But you can feel the upper back settling, and you may feel certain edges of the shoulder blade rather than the shoulder blade as a flat plane. It's contoured. And you may feel a little different left to right, which is perfectly fine, but you might notice that. You might feel the underside of the shoulder, however the arm is orientated. And perhaps the back line of the upper arm and the elbow. And then depending on how your forearms are arranged, you may feel some sensation there. Then the curve of the rib cage will give you some sensation as it touches the ground. It may not be even left and right again. Because the legs are bent or supported, you may feel a little bit of pressure on the lower back, but less so than the upper back or the back of the pelvis. So there's a natural curve in your lumbar region. If your legs are stretched out, that's emphasised a little more. With the legs bent, that's slightly lengthened. But then you may feel the kind of bottom of the waist area that becomes the bottom. And you'll feel the contact, certainly of the buttocks on the floor, but you might also feel the bony back of the pelvis. The back ridge of the sit bones, perhaps a little of the sacrum, I don't know. It depends on your build, I think. And then you'll feel your feet. So it's perhaps the heels that are most heavy on the floor, being the heaviest part of the foot. But you might also feel the ball of the foot. And you can notice whether the weight's playing in or out, towards the little toe or more evenly spread. And again, it doesn't matter, you're just noticing. There's nothing to adjust, unless you're uncomfortable. So there you have awareness on the back of the body as it contacts the floor. Now bring your mind, or bring your attention, more broadly speaking, to the back itself, what we consider the back of the body. And just allow a sense of length through the spine line, sure, but also width. Across the upper back, the shoulder girdle, even the back of the neck. So width. And across the back of the rib cage. Across the back of the base of the rib cage and the back of the waist. Across the back of the pelvis. So length and width. And rather than just finding length and width, let it be a process of opening and spreading, lengthening and widening. Like water on a surface slowly spreading, or ink on a blotter. It's a bit of an old image. Or butter melting in a pan. And as the body settles, you almost can't help but relax with it. And you may find that you can settle a little more breath by breath. There's also the willingness to relax. And yet even within the relaxation, you are conscious, kind of aware of the process as it happens. And the mental activity, the commentary on what you're doing, or the opinion about the practice, or any worries about what you're doing, am I doing it right, etc., can all drop away. And you're almost just feeling the relaxation happen and allowing it. And you may find that the texture of the breath, the rhythm, the depth, the feeling of the breathing subtly alters the more you spread and relax, or open and relax. Good. So now we're going to make a very skillful transition to sitting. But if as you lie there, you plan in your head that kind of coming up, the rolling over and sitting up and finding your meditation seat, whether that's a chair or the floor, a cushion. You can preempt the stresses of moving by kind of planning mentally first or rehearsing mentally first. So rather than me telling you a way to come up, can you just plot it in your head for a moment? And then taking your time, almost as if you don't want to disturb your inner life, can you find your way to your seat? Take your time. And you may not want to, in which case you could try lying down. And we will do a lying down practice one day, but not today. Good. So if you settle your weight forwards a little on your seat, just slightly lean forwards of your centre line and almost drop through the very back of the pelvis as you lean forwards. So you can feel the back kind of line of the sit bones, back touch of the sit bones. And then you slowly bring yourself to vertical. There's almost a sense of the sit bones extending behind you, as if they were lengthening subtly. And then that soft elongation, ascension, let's call it, through the spine. And the shoulders dropping. The hands resting how you want them. On the knees, on the lap. Whatever suits. Allow the head to find its upright buoyancy. And the neck and throat to relax. The jaw to relax. And the face to soften. You can almost feel the skin around the shoulders, upper shoulders, sides of the neck, drawing down the back a little, as if the shoulder blades were dropping. It's kind of the feeling of having a kind of heavy cardigan on or a shawl. Almost imagine the skin moving down, over the shoulders and down the back. And the skin from under the bottom, under the pelvis, moving back and up into the lower back and ascending up the back line. And the feeling or the skin on the back of the waist moving from the centre to the sides, spreading wide. So you've got the down, the up and the width on the back body. So you're sensitive to the back. There's almost a listening to the feeling tone of the back body. And then be conscious of the movement of breath. So the drawing in of the inhale, or the allowing the inhale to come. You can give that a little bit more strength. Slightly fuller breath. And the flow of the out-breath, as if you're breathing out along a long plane into the distance. And that slow drawing in of the inhale. And when you've got that quality of breath going on, can you direct the sensation of breathing to explore the back? So you may feel as you breathe in that you can encourage that feeling of lengthening and widening, of dropping and rising, opening. It's as if the breath were curious about the back and visits it. And notice where you're less inclined to put attention, or the kind of less open areas are. You can almost guide the breath there, or nudge the breath in that direction. Now there isn't a separate piece of skin we call the back skin. The skin, of course, is continuous. So the sensation may creep further, down, up, sideways. So as you breathe, you can begin to be conscious of the kind of seeping of the breath, or the creeping around of the breath, the exploring of the breath, as a more whole body experience. As if you're allowing the breath now to explore all of the skin, or all of the texture of the body. All of your experience of your body could be, or begin to be, imbued with breath or sensation as you breathe. And again, you may find that there are areas that the breath's more reluctant or the sensation is more reluctant to go. The kind of denser areas in the body or the kind of darker spots. So you don't need to force anything, but you may be conscious of that area. And you may find just holding that area in your awareness lightly, that it begins to lighten up or open up. It might just be a particular niggle this morning, or it might be a kind of longer term area of holding. There's no great goal or agenda. There's no right or wrong with it. You don't need a story about it. You just notice that things aren't flowing quite so easily there today. So as you sit with that sensitivity of the body, come back to the rhythm and flow of your breathing. The breath sensation may be a little subtler now, a little more pervasive in the body. But there's still a coming and going, however subtle that is. There's still a rise and fall, a rhythm. Albeit slower perhaps, or less heavy-handed. And there may be a sense of the body quietening or sensitizing, almost a delicate listening. So we could call that a calmness for now. Let's call it a sense of calmness or a quietening. So if that's your experience, can you just resolve to drop inside it a little deeper? So you put yourself in the center, the very heart of your experience right now. So your experience of the body, you're right at the kernel of, right in the center of. You're not an external witness. You are the experience. So rather than simply cutting off and abruptly finishing, just lower your gaze a touch or lower your head a little. Allow the eyes to open or your focus to come to you, and notice an object on the floor in front of you, or the light or the shade or a shadow. And then just let your awareness open up a little. Maybe your head moves or your eyes widen a touch. Just begin to take in the visual world around you. So you kind of re-emerge, keeping a quality or a flavour of what you've done. It may well abide, carry on a little beyond the end of the practice.